Hey guys, welcome back to Mr. Donnell's Social 9 podcast. Today we are starting Chapter 7. What role should consumerism play in our economy? Consumerism meaning us as consumers. If you're following along in the textbook, I am on page 238. So, consumerism influences the economies of both Canada and the US. It reflects some common values that shape the economies of both countries. This chapter presents information about those values and about different views and perspectives concerning the impact of consumerism on citizenship and quality of life. Consumerism is an economic theory that says the more people buy, the better it is for the economy. In economies based on consumerism, consumer behavior plays a key role in economic decision making. So again, the theory that the more people buy, the better it is for the economy. So times when people are scared to buy stuff or are saving their money, like right now, and during the depressions, this is when things can get really, really rough. When we buy goods and services, again, goods meaning products, we become consumers. Have you ever thought of what influences you as a consumer? Maybe you consider the quality or price of a good or service before you buy it. Or you might consider where it was made. Maybe laws about health and safety affect the products and services you can choose from. The decisions we make as consumers have consequences for the quality of life, citizenship, and identity of ourselves and others. So it's important to think about what does and what should influence consumer behavior. This chapter will explore factors that affect consumer behavior and how these factors connect to economic systems in Canada and the US. So really throughout this chapter, I want you to be thinking about what factors influence what you buy. Okay, so again, some focus questions for this chapter. How does consumer behavior affect the quality of life for individuals and groups in Canada? And two, what affects the impact of consumerism on the economies of Canada and the US? Just something to think about. What would the benefits of a cell phone ban be in school? What are the benefits of having your cell phone in school? Just something to think about. What is quality of life? By definition, it is a measure of a person's personal and collective well-being. Some things that people consider to affect their quality of life: freedoms, human rights, education, health, life expectancy, political stability, community life, job security, gender equality. I'm now on page 243. What guides your behavior as a consumer? Imagine it's Saturday. By some lucky chance, you have plenty of money to spend. You've decided to go shopping at a mall of the world. The mall has many stores offering different products and services. Some products come from countries where human rights is an issue. You can buy, some products contain substances that you can recycle or not. You can buy products that use a larger or smaller quantity of resources to manufacture and use. For example, an electric toothbrush or an ordinary toothbrush. This section investigates some of the factors that might influence the decisions you make. It considers these questions. How will your identity, who you are, what you believe in and value, where you live, the groups you belong to, your way of seeing the world come into play? How much will you consider your health, safety, security? How does choosing a product affect the jobs people have? How important to you are the environmental impacts of products and services? How will marketing affect what you buy? And do you really need to buy anything at all? Okay, so you got 6 key points there to think about whenever you buy a product. Which one of these do you think about? Page 244. Factor, identity. The choices we make as consumers can reflect our identity. Think about your clothing you are wearing today, right now. What do your clothes say about your beliefs and values? and what you consider important to your quality of life. Consider how these factors may have influenced you when you bought these clothes. Take a look at the comments of the grade 9 students on this page. And the next. These students have very different views on how clothing can express their identity. What do their values say about their behaviors as consumers? How do their views compare with your own ideas about expressing identity? The first grade 9. I think what influences me the most as a consumer is brand names. Everyone wears a brand name, and you want to be accepted. Conformity is a huge factor in brand names. Also, you can see how reliable brand name clothes are. If everyone has a good experience with them, then you know they're good quality. Second student. I'm mainly influenced by my friends and family's opinions because I see them every day. But even though my friends and family give me their opinions, I don't like to conform. Conformity gives you an image of unoriginality because you follow what everyone else is doing. Unless I know a product is good quality and a good price, though, I don't give a thought about buying it. Next one. When I'm looking for food, I go for personal preference, 100%. Same goes for video games and movies. I don't care what the ads or other people say. If I like it, I'll buy it. That's only somewhat true when I'm buying clothes, though. I usually try to buy the brand that's popular unless I don't have enough money. Then I'll usually save up until I do. All in all, I try not to let advertising influence me too much, although it's kind of difficult. And the last one, I just started working, so one of the most important influences for me is price. Brand names are also a big influence. When I see stars with a particular product, I feel compelled to try it. I want to know why these big stars with lots of money are buying it. So you have 4 examples there. 4 different grade 9 students giving their opinions. Just something to think about. Which one do you kind of go with the most? Or do you have a completely different one? And on the slide here, just stuff to think about. What impact can consumer behavior have on the environment? So what does the stuff that we choose to buy affect the environment? How does it affect your quality of life? Okay, how does consumer behavior affect the jobs and people available to people? On that one, you're really thinking about the products you buy, where are they being made? So who's actually getting the jobs required to build the products that you're buying? Just stuff to think about. This is all consumerism. I'm now on page 248. Factor. Health and safety. Federal law requires warnings on products such as cigarettes to discourage consumers from buying them. As the warnings tell you, smoking can lead to cancer and heart disease. Despite the warnings, however, adults can still buy cigarettes. Some governments in Canada have gone further. They have banned some products and made them unavailable to consumers. Just something to think about. Why might Canadians have different views about decisions to ban some products? Okay, there's an article here on page 248 that says schools ban junk food. Edmonton's school board gave unanimous support Tuesday on a motion to eliminate the sale of junk food in all schools. Trustee Ken Gibson said it's important for the board to lead by example. We need to have a strong statement about what our beliefs are and what is good for our students. Of 8 community members who addressed the board, most called for a ban. Nancy, a parent at Rutherford School, said junk food sold in schools is often too tempting for children. She compared it to some going grocery shopping while feeling hungry. Why offer junk food in an institutional setting that is meant to provide role modeling and education? Schools teach health and gym and then offer sugar, salt, or fat-laden treats in vending machines. It's wrong and it needs to stop. Randy Lee said children need encouragement to get away from junk foods that contribute to unhealthy lifestyles. We've removed cigarettes from the environment and the equation, so now it's time to remove junk food, Lee said. 2 people said they thought it was wrong to ban junk food sales. 1 said a ban would prevent schools from raising funds by selling candy or from having pizza days. Just food for thought, something to think about. Okay? Page 249. Calgary eateries race to reduce trans fats. Calgary restaurants are scrambling to trim trans fats just days before the city becomes the first in the country to regulate the use of the artery clogging additive. Controversial new health regulations take effect Tuesday. The research suggests there is no safe level of consumption of trans fat. Restaurants are the first to be targeted in the CHR's battle against trans fats, and grocery stores are next. Organizations such as the Canadian Council of Grocery Distributions express concern about the regulations because trans fats are a staple in many processed foods on grocery and bakery shelves. That's when the whole trans fat fad came around. Basically, everyone's trying to get rid of them, right? This was in 2007. And did you know? Legislation about consumer health and safety. Consumer health and safety is the focus of legislation in both Canada and the U.S. For example, both Canada and the U.S. have product labeling laws that require producers to list the ingredients in food and cosmetics. The U.S. has laws making airbags mandatory in cars, along with seatbelts. In 2007, Canada's law made only seatbelts mandatory. In 2007, neither Canada nor the U.S. had legislation to limit trans fats in foods. Canada had considered it. However, in 2004, Canada's government established a task force to investigate the issue, but decided to ask food companies to reduce trans fats voluntarily. Page 250. Factor, jobs. When you buy a product, you connect to a chain of people and their jobs. Your choice is part of what keeps them employed. Take, for example, a ballpoint pen. This is on page 250 if you're following along. A simple pen. Here are some of the jobs connected to your pen purchases. Okay, so on page 250 you got step 1, who makes your pen? Literally just a pen in your hand. So 1 step below you having the pen is the store workers. Salespeople, marketers, managers, people working at the store that you bought the pen from. Okay, next step down. Transport workers, the truckers, warehouse workers, managers, support staff. How did the pen get to the store? 1 step below that. Manufacturing and plant workers, assembly machine operators, ink compounders, quality control workers, managers, support staff. The actual factory where the pens are made. And then 1 more step below that. The actual material and supplies needed to go to the factory to make the pen. Metal supplies, plastic suppliers, chemists for the ink, mine workers for the plastic and all the materials required. Okay? The sheer amount of jobs created by buying that pen. And you can think about that with any product that you buy. Page 251, did you know? Consumer spending plays an important role in both mixed and market economies. For example, in Canada in 2006, consumers spent more than $400 billion on products and services. In the US, consumer spending accounts for 70% of economic activity. Consumer spending affects economic growth in Canada and the US. Economic growth is the degree to which a country's wealth increases over a period of time, usually a year. Okay? A country's total wealth. So, it could include things as how much profit a country's economy makes from the products and services it produces, and how many people have jobs and are making income in that country. If profits fall or fewer people have jobs, this indicates that an economy is shrinking rather than growing. In both Canada and the US, governments watch consumer spending closely. Through tax breaks and other measures, they sometimes encourage consumer spending to keep their economies growing. In both Canada and the US, our economies heavily rely on people buying stuff. So really think about how things are going right now. I'm on page 252 now. Factor, environment. Your choices as a consumer also affect the air, water, and land that you share with everybody. Here are some of the environmental effects connected with the purchase of a pen. So again, we're looking at a pen. What sort of things, I'm on page 252 by the way, affect the environment when you buy a pen? So you're thinking about the packaging or the plastic. Plastic manufacturing emits toxins such as formaldehyde, phenol, xylene. In Canada and the US, governments regulate the amount of toxins industries can release into the atmosphere. So you're going from plastic to packaging. Packaging makes up 1/3 of the waste North American consumers generate. Many resources end up as packaging. For example, packaging accounts for about 1/4 of all plastic produced in the US. Ink. Ink is made from organic compounds. The manufacture of organic compounds emits pollutants such as sulfur oxides. Okay, makes rainwater acidic, which can damage lake ecosystems and crops. To limit the damage, governments in Canada and the US regulate and monitor acid-forming emissions from industry. Metals. Pen tips use metals, typically copper, zinc, tungsten. Metals come from mines, which can have many environmental impacts. Copper, for example, typically comes from open pit mines. That's from a pen. Environmental impact from a pen. Page 253. Did you know? Legislation about consumerism and the environment. Canada and the US have laws and programs related to consumer behavior and the environment. For example, both governments have banned leaded gasoline because of the harmful effects of lead on human health and the environment. Consumers shopping for new appliances in both Canada and the US can identify energy-efficient options because of government programs that label these appliances. In both Canada and the US, producers and consumers have also taken environmental action on their own. Many green products on the market today, such as organic foods and environmentally friendly household cleaners, don't come from legislation, they come from consumer demand. Consumer demand meaning people want that product. They want someone to make that product, so someone makes it, and it's successful. Okay, say for cleaning products, say for cleaners, organic foods, etc. So the government didn't say this must be done. Someone said, I think there's a demand for this product. They made it, and there was. Page 254. Factor, marketing. Let's say you're in the Mall of the World food court. You're deciding whether to buy a drink. The food court offers many well-known brand name beverages you have seen advertised in magazines and on TV. How might advertising affect what you do? Identify ways the ads on this page promote informed decision making. Identify other ways they try to influence your decision. How might the principles you find in these ads apply to advertising and marketing for all products, including clothes, electronics, entertainment, and school supplies? On page 254, there's a few examples of just some advertising. So did you know? Both Canada and the US have legislation that affects what advertising can say and can't say. For example, advertising can't make false or misleading claims about products and services. In Canada, rules about advertising come under the Competition Act. The Competition Act aims to uphold competition among producers by ensuring fair business practices. And take a look at page 254. There's a few examples of ads. Oops. On page 255, you'll also see some examples of advertising techniques. Okay, and I think there's 6 different examples. So the first one, we got bandwagon effect. Bandwagon effect encourages you to buy a product because everyone else is doing it. I always use this like the bandwagon sports jumpers. Like my favorite team is, if your favorite team changes every single year because they're the best, that's bandwagon. Emotional appeal uses strong emotional language that connects with your fears and desires. So think about like sad music playing, something to draw on your emotions. Glittering generalities relate the product or service to words or images that promise everything but deliver little or nothing. So glittering generalities, think like the product could be like a simple product, but in the commercial it's just like just insane stuff's going on. They're on top of a mountain. Like Red Bull commercials would come to mind. Just like out of this world, like the product's not going to do that kind of thing. Plain folks appeal, relate a product service to the experience of ordinary folk. Testimonials, that's using celebrities or experts to speak for a product. And scientific appeal, using statistics or scientific data to persuade consumers to buy a product. So there's different strategies companies use to encourage consumers to buy their products. On page 256, there's 2 examples of political cartoons. So you take a look at those. They're kind of funny, actually. One's called Gullibos. It's a cereal. So take a look at that and see what you think. Page 257. What affects the impact of consumerism on the economies of Canada and the US? So in this section, you're going to look at examples of how income affects consumer behavior and how boycotts represent one way to influence economic decision making. So learning about boycott. When you boycott something, what does it mean? So a boycott is a decision by consumers to stop buying a product or service in order to bring about some change. So like you basically are refusing to go to this store or buy this product for whatever reason. And if enough people do that, there could be change. There's your comic on page 258. It's I'll kind of go through it with you guys. It says, buying on a budget. Here's your order. Buy now. Buy now. Closing time, everyone. Let's clean up. The guy says, I'm glad I've got this job. I get to make more choices for myself, not like before. Mom, can I have money for a movie? Again, you just saw one the other night. I know, but this new movie just came out. Well, okay, here you go. Can I have some more for snacks? Snacks too. I'm not made of money, John. Maybe it's time you earn some money of your own. So then the kid gets a job. Good work, John. Here you go. My first paycheck. Says, I'm not going to be rich anytime soon. Later that day. Okay, first shopping, then some lunch and a movie. Ouch, $80 for this brand name shirt he's looking at. I guess I'll get this one. Then he says down here, do you want fries with that? Yep, no. And then he goes to the movie and he doesn't have enough money to see the movie. Shouldn't have bought the t-shirt. So it's just examples of how income, and you could say common sense, but how does income affect consumer behavior? Page 261. Why might views on consumerism differ regionally in North America? It says work these questions below and answer the questions in blue, but we're going to go through together. How does consumerism affect quality of life? Think of both positive and negative views of consumerism you have encountered in this chapter. How does prosperity affect consumerism? The prosperity of people, how well off they are, how rich they are, how much money they make. How does that affect consumerism? How does prosperity differ regionally? Prosperity varies within countries and among countries. The map below presents regional differences in prosperity in North America. Because of these differences, the world considers Canada and the US developed countries and Mexico a developing country. So if you're looking at the sheet there, it says on average more than $40,000 a year, $20,000 to $40,000 a year, less than $20,000 a year on the map on page 261. And then it says, what is GDP? The map on this page shows gross domestic product, GDP. Key. GDP measures the amount of wealth a country's economy generates. The term per capita means average person. So GDP per capita is a way to estimate how well off people are in a country. Here are the estimated figures in 2007. So Canada, GDP per capita means on average, the average person make. In Canada, $38,600 a year. Mexico, $12,500, and the U.S., $46,000 a year. So it's on average. What does the average person make? Page 262. How can consumerism empower groups? A boycott is a decision by a group of consumers not to buy certain products. Some people boycott products as a way to respond to issues. This page presents some examples of boycotts dating from 2007. So I'm not going to read these to you guys, but you got from 262 to 263. I'll go through them with you guys. Some examples of boycotts in the past. So makeup, there's a makeup one here at the bottom, page 262. Animal rights groups boycotted the products of some cosmetic companies in 2007 because the companies used animals to test their products. One beside that, there's a cell phone. Human rights activists renewed calls for boycott of companies with business links to Myanmar, including some cell phone companies. The activists hoped to pressure the companies to leave Myanmar, which would pressure the government to change its policy on human rights. So example here is these cell phones were the factory for these cell phones was located in a country that had some human rights issues, so treated its people very, very badly. If the other countries were using the boycott of these products to try to make change in the government. So boycotting can actually have, if enough people do it, it can have drastic power. Some boycotts in Canadian history. The first one there says Les Patriots. Louis Joseph Papineau organized Canadians in Lower Canada to boycott British goods in 1837. A majority of people living in the British colony of Lower Canada at the time were Canadians, and Papineau was the leader of Les Patriots, a political movement. Les Patriots wanted Britain to make the system of government in the colony more democratic, so that Canadians had more control over their own affairs. The boycott aimed to pressure Britain to make reforms. One of many measures Canadians took to pressure Britain, including petitions, speeches, and rallies. Britain resisted reforming the government of Lower Canada, which led to the rebellion of 1837. Another one we got, boycott stops logging on Lubicon land. The land rights of the Lubicon Lake Cree in Alberta were at the center of a boycott between 1991 and 1998. The boycott targeted the products of pulp and paper giant Deschua. Boycott organizers persuaded businesses and consumers to stop buying their products. For example, Woolworths, a department store chain, stopped using paper bags manufactured by Deschua. In all, the lost business cost Deschua millions of dollars. The boycott pressured Deschua to stop logging land claimed by the Lubicon until the Lubicon and Canada's government had come to an agreement. In 2007, the Lubicon and Canada had still not come to an agreement, and Deschua had still not logged the land. Wow. So you can see the immense pressure boycotts can create. That is chapter 7, guys. There'll be a bonus episode coming tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.